violent crimes since February. And also that month, I should mention, was the month that Jose Ibarra was charged with the murder of 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley in Georgia. Also in the month of February, another illegal border crosser was charged with killing a 2-year-old, a little boy, in Maryland. In May, another arrested for the kidnapping and rape of a 14-year-old child. Republican Congresswoman Cammack of Florida. And Congresswoman, I know you have law enforcement support in your own home. Your husband is a SWAT EMT. You have shared on this program many times how you're focused not just on crime in general, but this particular kind of crime that maybe could be prevented if we weren't letting so many people in and not able to vet them.
Absolutely, Harris. I mean, your heart just breaks for Rachel's family. You heard her mom just now talking about this case. And I would venture to say that not only was this entirely preventable, it never should have happened in the first place, but this criminal, he probably is not only just a serial predator, but possibly a serial killer. He's been linked to crimes all around the country, and we have seen where he has left a trail of destruction in his wake. But he's not the only one. And I had some communication with the Hartford Sheriff's Office today in talking about this case. And, you know, the sheriff and his team have been doing a remarkable job. But we agree on a couple of things. One, this President Biden, he's not going to uphold the law no matter what Congress passes, no matter what the Supreme Court says. So it's going to take a change in administration before they get serious. And in speaking with the sheriff's team, this can't be political. Every town in America is a border town because of the failures of Joe Biden. We have Republicans and Democrats who need to step up to the plate to fix it. But even that being said, it's going to require a change in administration. Well, we have too many Americans. Result. You
make an excellent point. I mean, the president has flouted a U.S. Supreme Court decision on student loans, and he laughs about that. I mean, just check out his social media feed. I don't know how much of it is he's actually doing himself. The San Diego Union Tribune reports that border crossings and those releases of illegal immigrants remain steady despite the president's executive action. Well, during an 8-day period that began on June 5th, when Biden signed that action, more than 2,700 people were released into the United States. Look at this. And that's more than half the number of people released in any given week in April. And look, I've read through the report as far as the details that we can get. I just want to make this point. When they say non-document docket, those people, those migrants, they talk about them as migrants. They're made up of two groups of people, Congresswoman, those who cross the border illegally, or as you and I both call them, criminals, and those who've been released into the U.S. pending their immigration cases, future court dates, so on and so forth. Also including illegal immigrants who've been ordered to leave and have not. That number, the total number for fiscal year 2024, and it's not over yet, 7,400,000. Congresswoman.
Oh, man, Harris. I mean, this just makes my blood boil, because when you think about what this administration has done in the span of 4 years to undo not just the Trump executive orders and all our border security initiatives to keep this country safe and really uphold legal immigration, they are destroying communities all around this country as a result. You know, I spoke with several of our Border Patrol agents here this morning and have been checking in with them in the wake of this Biden executive order that was really just designed to give top cover for political reasons. You know what they told me? They said it's gotten worse. Biden's executive order made the situation at the border worse. Why? Because now everyone's rushing to the border, even more so than before, because they feel that they're going to be capped out. So it's putting more of a burden on those states like New Mexico, Arizona, California, Texas, thanks to the good work of the men and women there and Governor Abbott. They've effectively been able to shut it down. But for those other states that have liberal leadership and don't care about the border situation the way Texas does, they've created a real crisis there. Not to mention that under Alejandro Mayorkas' leadership, we now have no buses. The planes that you would need to deport and get people back to their home countries no longer are there. The manpower resources are there, and they have taken more beds out of ICE's control. So you have a situation They have no way to actually enforce what is in this EO. They've made it worse. It all goes back to them trying to give top cover for electoral purposes. But as a result, Americans are dying and communities are less safe.
Well, look, those communities who are feeling the pressure are the very communities of color that this president says he needs and can't win without. And they're the very people now who are giving the former President Donald Trump not just a look, but being welcomed into their community when he shows up. The Biden administration is reportedly working on a parole in place. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. It's policy that would provide legal status for hundreds of thousands of people who are living in the United States without documentation. Now, remember the number that I just gave you, 7,400,000 of them. Many of them have been here for years. They expect that number to grow to 8 million by the end of the year. So 2 points here, Congresswoman, that you just pointed out. It's getting worse. So that number is actually not going to get better. It's going to get worse the more action he takes. Parole in place. That would lead me to believe that somebody's going to keep up with his people. How do we keep up with people that we don't know that they're here or where they are?
Well, the million-dollar question, Harris. And you talk to anyone who is in DHS, anyone who has the courage to come forward, they will tell you point blank, there are millions of people that they know are here in the country. They don't know where they are in the country, but they know they have derogatory information from their home country that would make them ineligible to be here. Now, we're talking sex predators, we're talking gang members, violent criminals, terrorists, people who have ties to terrorist networks. This is not just hundreds of thousands. We're talking millions. And you've heard me say it before. It's not a question of if, but when the next terrorist attack happens. And you pointed out so very correctly that it's communities of color that are also feeling the pain of the open border crisis. We saw President Trump in Detroit this weekend open with welcome arms in one of the Black churches. And they had a very open and honest dialogue about what it's going to take to get everyone going in this economy, and it's going to take a change in leadership. Biden could never do that. That's why Trump is winning on so many fronts in so many different communities. And so I think what we're going to see is very quickly a complete security of the border, securing the border, but then a plan to find and then subsequently deport these criminals out of the country that absolutely have derogatory information on their file. They don't need a pathway to citizenship.
They need to leave.
And they shouldn't be voting in elections, which is what the Biden administration is hoping they'll do.
Well, look, later today, as you well know, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, and the former President Donald Trump are meeting at Mar-a-Lago, and on their list is what it would look like getting into the White House, retaining majority in the House and gaining it in the Senate, and what those priorities are. And you're outlining what some of those points will be, no doubt, that they hit. Congressman Cammack, thank you for breaking this down with me today. These numbers are really disturbing and just popping. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Harris. Have a good week.